Hello, boys and girls. It's Becky with a story for you. We're going to read The Story of Ferdinand by Monroe Leaf. The pictures are by Robert Lawson. There was a movie out a few years ago about this, so we'll see. If you've seen the movie, maybe the story differs just a little. This is where it started. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. There's little Ferdinand. And there's all the other little bulls. But not Ferdinand. He liked to sit quietly and smell the flowers, and he had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in the shade all day and smell the flowers. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. "Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head?" she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head and say, "I like it better just sitting here where I can be quiet and smell the flowers." Oop. His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she just let him sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was big and strong. There's little Ferdinand. And now look, there he is all grown up. Oh, they have a cool picture here. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. But what they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. Just a little picture. But not Ferdinand. He would like to just sit under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting and leaping and jumping so the men would think that they were strong and fierce and pick them. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care, so he went to his own favorite cork tree to sit down. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him. And that's just what this bee did to Ferdinand. There's the bee. And look, here's Ferdinand, oh dear. Wow, did it hurt. Ferdinand jumped up with a snort, and he ran around puffing and snorting and butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. We know better, don't we? And so they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. What a day it was! Flags were flying and bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the banderilleros with long, sharp pins with ribbons on them and to stick the bull and make him mad. And next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick the bull and to make him madder. There's all the bullfighters. Lots and lots of bullfighters. Then came the matador, the proudest of all, and he thought he was very handsome, and he bowed to the ladies, and he had a red cape and a sword, and he was supposed to stick the bull last of all. And then came the bull. And you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the banderilleros were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid, and the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. There's all the scared bullfighters. And our dear friend. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers in all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the banderilleros were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off his cape and sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he's sitting there still, under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy. That is what is called a misunderstanding. When sometimes something happens that's not normal, and so you react differently than you thought you would, but it's just because of the weird thing. And so you have to just explain, I'm not really like this. I will try to be more polite. But of course, when a bee stings you, what can you do? You have to go running for help. That's exactly what Ferdinand did, but they didn't understand him. Well, thank you for sharing the story with me, boys and girls. That's all for our story today. Be sure to let your parents know to like and subscribe. And if you have any comments that you want to talk to me about the story or questions that you have or information that you have. You can tell your parents and they can put it in the comments. And then if they set up their phone or their computer, when they subscribe, then they can click on the bell and that'll tell you every time I put a new video up. I enjoy getting this time with you. Bye-bye.